In this lesson, we'll begin to create the hands for the character. So we're going to be creating the hands, which are these gloves, so we don't have to put a lot of kind of skin detail in here, but we do want to have kind of the basics. So we're going to be building one finger at a time because those fingers are going to be very similar in their topology, just kind of different sizes and different placements. So it makes sense to kind of make one and duplicate that around and actually then connect everything up. So the first thing we're going to do is create a cylinder, and I'll just create this in the left view, and I'll go ahead and just drag this out, give it a little bit of height, and then let's go ahead and move this over out beyond the hand, or beyond the arm rather, out where the fingers would be. And then we'll go in and modify that. Alright, so let's go ahead and go into our front view and go to the modify panel. And I'm going to leave it with 8 sides because I want it to be nice and round. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dial that height up until it's something similar to what we've got here. We've got kind of the knuckle in this area and then out to the finger. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just make that height something like that. And we're going to have kind of 3 sections to this finger. So we've got 2 joints in there, and then it'll connect up to the base of the hand. So we want to have 3 sections. So I'm going to go ahead and dial that down to 3 segments. Okay. And then let's create kind of the base shape of this finger. Okay. And for this, I'm going to make it a little bit straighter rather than kind of curving up like we have here, just for the riggers, and give it just a slight bend so that they'll have something a little bit straighter to work with. Okay. So in this case, I'm not going to follow this exactly, but let's go ahead and convert this to an editable poly, and we now are able to access the vertices. So I'll just keep this cylindrical by just scaling these points, and I'll kind of bring this, the first section and the second section will be roughly the same length. Kind of pull that in and pull that down and just leave this out here, and then this one kind of pull in here. Now this one I'm going to bring in a little bit shorter because we're going to create kind of the flatness on the top. We'll have it kind of rounded at the bottom and the flatness on the top, and then we need to bring that roundness out to the end. So we'll go ahead and select, go to our perspective here, and then I'll select this polygon on the end, and I want to use this to kind of create the roundness. So to do this, I'm going to use a bevel. Go ahead and bring that height down and the outline amount. Okay, and just something like that, and maybe a little bit less, just so it kind of has the opportunity to curve out here. And then we'll go ahead and close that off by going to Edit Geometry, Cut, and let's go ahead and just attach this across this in this direction, and then once down here. Okay, and we can then start to do a little bit of shaping here. So assuming that these are the joints, we now need to add some geometry around those joints. So we'll go ahead and take that edge and take that edge loop. So we'll find our selection, go ahead and select the loop, and then we'll chamfer that with 2 segments and just kind of pull that in. So we've got enough geometry around there. We'll do the same thing down here, select the loop, chamfer that, and you've got that. Let's go ahead and now add some geometry inside here. Okay, inside each section, we'll just add one along each side. Apply that, and apply that. Now let's go ahead and flatten off the top of this. So we've got a nice round bottom to our finger, but let's go ahead and now select all these points on the top and just kind of pull these down so it gives a little bit more flatness here on the top of our finger. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete the polygon at the back, and let's go ahead and all the sections that are between the joints, I'm going to go ahead and grab those vertices just on the bottom and just pull them down a little bit to get kind of the flesh that's bulging out from there. So you get something like that. So we've got a section of flesh and then the bony joint right there. Then we could come in on the top of the joints here and maybe just bring these up a little. And that's on the top part of the hand, of the fingers. Okay. And you could kind of, maybe you want to flatten this out a little bit more as it comes out here to the end of the finger. Maybe this will flare out a little bit, give it more of a stylized look. Okay. And we'll take these joints and just kind of make these just a bit bigger where that bone is. And we can smooth this and see what this looks like. Okay, I think it actually looks pretty good. We might want to round off the end of that a little bit more. Okay, so we could go ahead and take these vertices here, go ahead and pull these out a little bit. Maybe pull some of these out just to kind of round this off just a little. So take the bottom ones and maybe push them in a little bit. Okay, grab these all the way underneath and kind of pull those in a little just to create that kind of so it's not all squared off there at the end. Maybe take both of these and pull those in. And then take these and kind of pull them back just a little bit. That should help a little. Go ahead and see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's looking good. It's kind of a nice stylized sort of finger. If you want to have more definition under here, we've got these kind of rubber gloves on right now, but maybe you want to have a little bit more definition. You could take these points here and just push them up. And same thing at this joint. And then if you want that line to be a little bit tighter, you can just kind of scale all of these in a little bit. To kind of pull all those in. And that'll give you a little bit tighter edge under there, so that when you smooth it, you'll get a little bit more of a crease. You can kind of see that in there. And you don't want it to be too tight because we're working with kind of gloves here. So, and we also want to maybe exaggerate. Right now it looks, the scale of this looks a little bit like we need to maybe exaggerate it a little bit for the style of our character. So we can come in and do that. Maybe we want to kind of scale up the ends so it doesn't taper quite as much. We can come in here and kind of scale this entire thing a little bit so it's not quite scaling down as much. So now what we want to do is go ahead and place and duplicate all of these fingers. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and from the top view, I'm going to come in here and let's say this is going to be sort of our index finger. So just kind of eyeball where this is going to look or where this is going to live here. I'll just kind of rotate it out a little bit. You can use your own hand as reference. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of go ahead and hold down shift and then copy one copy over in the Y. Okay, this is going to be kind of our middle finger, so I'll go ahead and scale this up a little bit. It's going to be a bit longer. Pull this out in the X, I'll rotate it a little bit, so this should be fairly straight on with the arm. Okay, and it's going to connect a little bit forward of where that index finger is. Okay, you can also rotate these just a little bit if you want to, or you can leave them fairly flat. Okay, pull that in nice and tight. Let's go ahead and duplicate this again, and this will be our ring finger. So it should be a little bit longer than the index finger. So I'll go ahead and just scale this down a little bit. Yeah, that's probably too much. Okay, and we're going to rotate this so it's kind of flared out the other direction. And it's going to be a little bit longer. Okay, but this saves us a lot of time because we don't have to go back and build all of these fingers again. And then we've got the pinky, which is going to be much shorter than any of the other fingers. So we'll go ahead and scale this down a bit. There we go. And then we'll go ahead and pull this over to the end and rotate this out. So we get something like this. And it just depends. You might want to come in, depends on the riggers want it. You might want to come in and actually kind of rotate this down and create kind of an arc there on the hand. I can get that selected there. And then we can kind of grab both of these and pull these down a little bit. then this guy as well. So you get something like that. And let's go ahead and kind of push these together a little bit. And we're starting to get just the fingers in there. Now we also need the thumb, so let's go ahead and use the base finger that we created. We'll copy it. Say OK. Now for the thumb we only need 2 sections because that base section and that base joint is buried in the hand. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete these polygons here. And we'll go ahead and delete all the way up to there. Go ahead and delete those. And now, obviously, our thumb is going to be a bit kind of shorter and fatter, thicker. So we can go ahead and just kind of scale that. And I'm going to use our local mode here. And we're at edge selection. I want to go into our top level selection and just kind of scale this. So I'll scale it up, and this thumb is not going to be placed up here. It's going to be placed at the back of the hand, and you can kind of see where that is here. So we can come in and use this as kind of a guide. It may not be exact, but it'll give us kind of a rough view here. Okay, and let's go ahead and move it down, and let's rotate it out so that where the nail would be is kind of facing us. So we'll kind of rotate it out in that direction and rotate it up. Okay. And still maybe need to give that a little bit more scale according to our drawing there. And just get something like that. And we have a chance to move all of this and kind of rotate it in towards where the base of the hand's going to be. We'll have a chance to modify all of this as we get the base of the hand built in. But now we've got the fingers kind of added in. The next thing we need to do is create kind of the base for the hand all the way back into the glove. So we'll go ahead and tackle that in the next lesson.